a number of deities in Indian temples are still depicted as holding the Yu Yi. And now, a burst of music as the massed bands come swinging through the far gate into the stadium for the ceremony of beating retreat, led by the band of the Royal Hong Kong Police. Mass bands marching diagonally across from the entrance gate and now swinging to center of the stadium, and marching from our left, passing us in a moment, moving away to our right. The Royal Marine Band from HMS Eagle, band of the 14th, 20th King's Hussars, 1st Battalion, the Royal Welsh Fusiliers, and of course the Royal Hong Kong Police. And out in front, the 3 drum majors, 3 gleaming maces swinging. Stadium floodlights on and now beginning to make an impression as the dusk slowly settles in. Applause for the mass bands as they move away to our far right, and we can just see through the gate at our far left the pipes waiting to make their entrance. Pipes of the 1st Battalion, the Irish Guards, the Brigade of Gurkhas, including the Gurkha Engineers, Gurkha Signals, and 6th Queen Elizabeth's Own Gurkha Rifles, and the Royal Hong Kong Police, all appearing by kind permission of their commanding officers and the Commissioner of Police, respectively. And as I look down through my window here into the covered stand, I can see high up in the stand, in the center of a row, the governor with Lady Kwan on his left and Lady Rodriguez on his right, and then flanking him again, or flanking Lady Rodriguez and Lady Kwan, is Sir Albert Rodriguez and Sir Cho Yu Kwan, watching this ceremony of beating the retreat. And with a skirl of the pipes, here they come, swinging through the entrance gate. Now this huge ceremony in honor of Sir David Trench will very shortly be coming to a close, but after the beating of retreat there will be the sunset ceremony, evening hymn and last post. And here come the pipes and drums now. Very distinctive, the pipes of the Irish Guards, because of course the musicians are wearing their saffron kilts. And it's very easy to spot them in the mass of pipers and drummers. and the diminutive but very smart Gurkhas with them. I mentioned just now that in the massed bands was the Royal Marine Band of HMS Eagle, formed with 23 musicians at the Royal Marine Depot at Deal in England in June of last year. And the band joined HMS Eagle on the 1st of September. And since then it's visited with the ship, of course, the Mediterranean, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand and Singapore. Displays have been given in Nice, Malta, Ascension Island, Cape Town, Sydney, Perth, at the International Trade Fair in Wellington, and in aid of the Commonwealth Games Appeal Fund in New Zealand. So the Royal Marine Band of HMS Eagle has certainly been very busy and very much travelled in its short existence. The band of the 1st Battalion, the Royal Welsh Fusiliers, have only recently returned from a visit to Korea and Japan. And this is probably the best-known service band at present stationed in Hong Kong. They've given hundreds of public concerts in all areas of the territory since they arrived in the summer of 1969. The band this evening is made up of 26 full-time military musicians, combined with 12 men of the Corps of Drums. And they return to Britain early next year at the end of the battalion's tour of duty in Hong Kong. And now, most attractive sight down there on the field, the pipers forming a huge circle in the centre of the stadium, with the drums to our left. The massed bands, silent and still, away to our far right. Their instruments beginning to glint now under the stadium floodlights. The pipes and drums of the 1st Battalion, the Irish Guards, appearing this evening, consist of only 11 pipers and 4 drummers. The other half of the band are on a goodwill tour of Japan. And as I mentioned, as they came swinging in a few minutes ago, the pipers of the Irish Guards wear saffron-coloured kilts, which is the Irish tartan. And also parading with them are 2 pipers from the Scots Guards Company, stationed here as part of the Irish Guards Battalion. And in their full Highland regalia, black Glengarry with its tall black cock's feather and wearing Royal Stuart tartan plaid and kilt with dress sporran, the 2 Scots Guardsmen are quite easily distinguished. In fact, they do stand out from their Irish Guards colleagues. Fresh from their successful 6-month tour of the United Kingdom are the pipes and drums of the Brigade of Gurkhas. This massed band, as I mentioned earlier, is made up from the 6th Queen Elizabeth's Own Gurkha Rifles, 10th Princess Mary's Own, the Gurkha Engineers and the Gurkha Signals. Visiting England earlier this year, they were part of the largest band contingent from the brigade ever to appear in England. They performed at the Royal Tournament, Wembley, Colchester, Cardiff, Edinburgh and York Tattoos, and the Royal Windsor Horse Show, and a good many other shows and carnivals. Of course, the Brigade of Gurkhas has been in existence since 1815 and has always served as part of the British Army, and so it has very close connections with Scottish regiments from its earliest days, and it's from these ties that the Gurkha pipes and drums stem. This is always impressive, and it's obviously impressing the children here this afternoon when the pipes and drums go swinging through the ranks of the massed bands and emerge at the other side. Again, the pipes and drums countermarch. They are moving in quick time, and the massed bands are moving in slow time. This is very impressive to watch, as the pipes and drums move towards the massed bands, overtaking them. Massed bands, slow time, pipes and drums, quick time. And again, they merge and blend, passing through the ranks of the massed bands. This combination of slow and quick time, very intriguing, beautifully done. And now the whole ensemble, mass bands and pipes and drums, move into quick time. Again, they turn the left end of the stadium and countermarch again back towards our right. Now their marching shadows are being thrown across the turf, with the stadium floodlights now full on. Of course, this ceremony of beating the retreat is very old. It's believed that it originated in the 16th century. It was certainly an organized and accepted procedure in the army of William III at the end of the 17th century. And retreat was originally sounded and drums beaten on the ramparts half an hour before closing the gates of a garrison town at night. And the purpose was to recall troops within the walls and presumably to warn civilians also. And gradually it became the basis of a military spectacle, and certainly a very splendid spectacle when it's done as well as this. And the ceremony of beating the retreat was adopted by many British colonial police forces throughout the world. And now, from the far side of the stadium, counter-marching again and heading towards the saluting dais. And now a conductor's portable podium with 2 steps leading up to it has been brought onto the field just ahead of the saluting dais, and here comes Mr. Wood, director of the Royal Hong Kong Police Band, mounts the steps onto the podium, and he will be overall conductor for the evening hymn and the last post. The governor and his party remain for this part of the ceremony in the centre stands just below us and to our right. Applause for the mass bands and the pipes and drums, and now comes this very moving ceremony. after Abide With Me, the governor moves to the dais for a final royal salute.